What's up, guys? I just got done watching the Monsters Ed Gein edition. I'll be honest, guys, I think it's okay. I genuinely thought like the one with Jeffrey Dahmer was way better. I get what they were doing with this one, right? They were kind of making us seem like the audience versus being there alongside him. That's how we felt with the Jeffrey Dahmer one. We felt like we were right next to him throughout the whole time he was committing his atrocities. With Ed Gein, it felt like we were like the audience watching and kind of is trying to be sympathetic, or we're kind of trying to understand where all this stems from with his mental illness. I just think it could have been executed a little bit better. Like the whole Nazi thing, I get it if they want to talk about that, if that's a correlation to his past, but they focus so heavily on that to the point where I almost got lost in the sauce several times just to determine whether or not like what we're doing, or when they added the movie portion to it, like a movie within a movie, like, oh, hey, they're filming this because of Ed Gein, they're filming this because of Ed Gein. Like, yeah, it was really cool talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how it's loosely based on Ed Gein. However, I just think it could have been done a little bit better. Because at first I thought it was cool. I'm like, okay, they're adding movie aspect to it. But it got to a point where, like, I started getting confused on which one it was. Like, was this Ed Gein, actually? Or was this, like, a movie that they're making about him? You know what I mean? I mean, we've seen this kind of stuff before. We've seen it with Scream when they did Stab. Or we've seen it with other movies, like filming a movie within a movie. But there's a certain way to execute it. I just don't think they did great. Now, the actor who plays Ed Gein did a great job. I just think, again, the whole audience experience, I was not a huge fan of. Like, Sleeky rating, I'm probably going to give this like a 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't terrible, don't get me wrong. And it's cool that they're releasing stuff like The Monster for us to talk about, you know, these type of atrocities these people committed. And Ed Gein is a really interesting serial killer. Loosely serial killer. It's not even confirmed because he only has like really 2 confirmed kills with others suspected. But regardless, though, Ed Gein was a very interesting character because he's like one of the few that actually got put into a mental health facility due to the fact of what he was doing, and his atrocities was like so outlandish and so out there. Most serial killers like Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, you would think they were mentally insane, but they weren't deemed it per the court. However, Ed Gein was deemed it. And you got to think, too, Ed Gein's atrocities, you know, was even before their time. So it's very interesting because I can't fathom the thing back then, like when they never thought any of this could be an actual thing. It was an actual thing. And I do give like some props to it because it's giving us educational stuff within this. Some of the facts within this is inaccurate, I will say. But it's really cool how, like, I'm reading some of these TikToks on people's reviews about it. And some people are like, I never heard of Ed Gein before, but now they have. So I do give a kudos in that aspect that it's educating some people that have no idea who this person was because it was so way before their time. But some of the facts behind this is inaccurate to a certain extent, or it's never been proven to be accurate, but it is also a TV show, right? We have to assume that some of the stuff is going to be inaccurate in it. But overall, though, like I said, 6.5 out of 10 on Sleeky rating, just because of the fact that I liked how they talked about the mental health, right? I liked how, because that played a huge role in Ed Gein's like life, essentially, obviously. Most of the time with these killers, there's some type of trauma within their childhood, as most of us know. However, they could have executed the whole mom situation a little better. They try to, like, you know, have him in here where he's just like yelling, and it'll show her, like, show a figure of her, and they're going back and forth, but obviously no one can see the mom because she's dead, right? They could have just had him yelling and not show the mom, so it really enhances the whole mental health aspect to it. And obviously it says in here about him being diagnosed with schizophrenia at a certain point. Obviously that's going to play a role as to why he's seeing his mom and no one else can. So I just think overall it could have just been executed a little bit better. Some people, I saw some people comments like in their videos like, oh, you know, everyone's hating on this. I thought it was great. I'm not necessarily hating on the show. I just think it could have been done a little bit better. Like I said, 6.5. I know that might not seem like a high rating, but I just think like with Jeffrey Dahmer really right there beside, I mean, that really changed the game. Like when Netflix released that Monster series, everyone was like, oh my gosh. And it was, it was this out of this world type of experience because people felt sick watching all that stuff, and people felt sick watching this too, at least from some of the stuff I've seen. It just felt like we were the audience, right? It just felt like we were seeing as to why they were justifying his atrocities he committed. I'm not saying it is justified, but I'm also saying, you know, he had severely mental health issues, as you know. from the show. But again, they focus way too heavily on the Nazi thing. They focus way too heavily on the whole mental health aspect with him talking to his mom and showing a figure of his mom, whatever. They could have just, like I said, like had him, for example, in the living room yelling at nobody, right? You know, they mentioned in here about Lizzie Borden is going to be the next monster, so it'll be interesting to see. I just hope they do that one a little bit better than this one. Again, different aspect to it. They wanted to, you know, play a little bit, if you will, with the audience and see if they can go this way. I feel like it's a mixed bag of emotions, whether or not people like it or they don't like it. I'm on the side of the don't like it. I get it, though. Going back to the Jeffrey Dahmer version was kind of gut-wrenching for some people, being there right beside him. But again, guys, we have to keep in mind this is a TV show almost. Like, this is kind of like a docuseries, but it's not. It's a very interesting combination of the two, right? Which is really cool what Netflix is doing with this monster series. I just think next one for Lizzie Borden, they should do a little bit better. And also, might I add, the whole last episode, at the end, for example, they basically teased with the whole Mindhunters thing with the FBI agents, the criminologists going to talk to these people, these serial killers, and it showed Ted Bundy and Ed Gein helping catch Ted Bundy. That has never been proven. But then on top of that, you know, going there and showing the whole last episode about Ted Bundy, I thought they were teasing they were doing one with Ted Bundy. That would have been actually really cool, because I get it, there's other shows with Ted Bundy and about Ted Bundy, but this is a monster series, so it's different. I will say, though, I just didn't think that was necessary. I mean, I get what they were doing, like, because you got to think that all these serial killers, like, kind of came back to back, or they were, like, parallel with each other, and it was across the United States. So Ed Gein, very early on, did his thing, and then eventually Ted Bundy, Ed Kemper, all that kind of stuff started doing its stuff. So then that's why they were showing all of them, whatever, which was, I guess, kind of a different take. I just think adding the whole Ted Bundy aspect to it was just not necessary, because, again, it's only going to make me as the audience like, oh, they're going to do one on him, and then at the end they say, oh no, we're doing Lizzie. Okay, fam, all right, I get you. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, 6.5 out of 10. Do I recommend you watch it? I think you should at least watch it once. Like, I'm not saying it's a rewatch. I don't know if you really want to rewatch these monster series, but yeah. So anyway, that's about it, guys. I'll see you.